Hi, I'm Dan Aubuchon, and welcome to the Joy of Tennis Teaching. For those of you who are regular viewers, I didn't mention where this cap that I'm wearing is from. This was a gift from a man who occasionally watches our videos, John Schrupp, who plays at the Marriott's Desert Springs, not too far from here. And every Super Bowl Sunday, John sponsors a round-robin doubles tennis tournament with some of the best players here in the Valley. And Scott Cameron was here last year and played in the event and came home with this great hat. And so I asked John, and he was nice enough to get one for me. So thank you, John. He gave it to Jim Leupold quite a while ago to bring to me, and Jim is not as fast as UPS and not as fast as the Postal Service. I guess he's faster than the Pony Express, which went out of business over 100 years ago. So Jim finally got the hat over to me, so and it fits great, and I thank John for it. Yesterday, while Reese was helping me with the computer, there was some tennis instruction video that I wanted to take a look at. I don't do that very often because usually it makes my mind explode. So much of the instruction videos on the internet are really bad. It's bad information, it's poorly done, and this one wasn't that at all. The young man who was doing the video was pretty knowledgeable. And I wanted to watch the video because it said how to aim your shots. And this is something that I know is often misunderstood and mistaught, so I wanted to see. And he blew up most of the myths about footwork and all of this. And he talked about the face of the racket at the moment of impact, what we've always called the contact point. And you know, he did a good job with the video. It was quite informative. But as I was watching it, made me think about what made the PBI concept so fantastic was the simplicity. Because as good as this young man's information was, it was kind of complicated the way he was explaining it. It was way too difficult. And it made me think about the beauty and simplicity of the PBI concepts. And over the next few weeks, I hope I'll introduce some of the concepts and some of the ideas that make the PBI teaching so effective with students, so easy to use. But in order to do that, I want to set up this idea of simplicity. And let's talk about that word. I was at a speech once by an author, and he started off his speech talking about the idea of simple versus simplistic. And he said, an explanation that's simplistic sounds right, but doesn't give you all the information that you need. Something that's simple is easy to understand, but it explains the complete process. And I was trying to think of an example. And let's say that from here at my house in Indian Wells, I wanted to give you directions to the Marriott, where Jim Leupold is teaching. And I could say, well, you know, you'll go out of the gate and then you make a right turn and you go 200 yards and you'll stop at a light and then you make a left turn and then you'll go 2 lights down, and I could make it very, very detailed and complicated. Or I could say the Marriott's about 3 miles to the northwest of us. Simple, but it might not get you there. You might take the wrong turn and miss the Marriott. Or I could say, go to 111, turn right on Cook, turn left on Country Club, and you're there. That would be a simple explanation. It gives you all the information that you need to accomplish the task, but it doesn't make it too complicated, but it's also not too vague. Does it make sense to y'all? I hope so. And over the next weeks, we'll get into different areas of the strokes. But two more examples that I want to give you about this simple approach to teaching have to do with making sure that your students understand all of your terms. One of the things that I saw once that really made me think about my own teaching and how to make it clearer to the students is I was watching a pro, Jim Bartell, and he was teaching a person who was new to the game of tennis, and he started off by giving them a tour of the court. He says, this is the service line, this is the singles sideline, this is the doubles alley, and he was walking around and he was explaining the lines and the terms of the court. And I thought, oh, this is a little simple. But it was really great, because how often have those of us who teach tennis say to the student, go to the service line, and they turn around and they walk to the baseline, because they know enough about tennis to know that's where you serve from. So it makes sense, that must be the service line, but it's not, it's the baseline. So I thought of Jim in his extremely clear, concise, and simple explanation for a new student to understand the parts of the court and the lines and what they did. And then I thought of this aiming thing, that the video I watched yesterday, and I thought of the first professional player I ever coached, Andrew Schneider. And one day Andrew came to practice and he said, Dan, I want to work on something specific today. And I said, great, Andrew, what do you want to work on? And he says, well, I'm having trouble. When I hit my forehand cross court, I want to hit a sharp angle cross court. And I said, yeah, we call that the side tee. You want to hit it so it goes off at the service line, right? And he goes, yeah. But every time I try that, it goes to the deep corner cross court. And I thought, that's interesting. All right, we'll get it. And I set up a target with about 6 or 8 cones around the side tee area. And I started feeding balls to Andrew, and he was right. He was trying to hit this one target, and his ball kept going to the deep corner. He was hitting the ball too late. So I kept saying, hit it earlier, Andrew, hit it earlier, and getting no result. And I took way too long to do this, but I finally did something very smart. I asked Andrew, what do you think I'm talking about when I say hit it earlier? He said, well, moving in and taking the ball on the rise. I said, no, that's not it. So I had to explain to Andrew with balls on the court, and the idea of hitting the ball earlier meant more in front of him versus later meant later contact, waiting for the ball to come. As soon as I demonstrated and explained this concept in a very clear and simple manner, Andrew then hit the target 50 times in a row. And I said, okay, you've got it. I don't think I've ever had a student hit any target 50 times in a row. But it was, so Andrew's problem was not the skill to hit the target. Andrew's problem was he didn't understand the instruction of what early and late meant on the contact area. So I hope this is helpful to all of you out there. I hope you'll go out and take a look at your teaching and figure out what are some areas that maybe you could be a little clearer and make things a little bit more simple for your students. So I hope you're all having a joyful time out there on the court. This is Dan Aubuchon signing off from Indian Wells.